Good morning, all you crocheters out there who are working on the Memories Blanket. We're so glad to have you join us today. I'm Debbie from MadameStitch, and this is my cohort in crime.
Biz from Busy Crochet. Hi, everybody.
And we are dropping into the Facebook group and on YouTube to tell you all about Section 5. Oh my gosh, Biz, guess what? This is the last section of the
I
blanket.
know. Oh my God.
I know.
It's
We
crazy.
we've been working on this since November of last year. So that means November, December, January, February. We're in our fifth month already. But we can't believe it's already getting to be done. So this is the last section. Biz
Yes.
designed this one. And we're going to give you a little glimpse into what she had in mind when she designed it and give you some tips and tricks about how to add it to your blanket so that when we get to Thursday, which is the border,
Hmm.
we'll have you all set and ready to go. All right. So, Biz, you and I were talking about this a little bit before we got on. What just describe the two parts of Section 5 and what
Okay.
special features you included in this section?
Okay. All right. So section 5 is pretty simple. You're not going to go beyond single crochet, double crochet, chain, and then there's one funky stitch, which is a front post treble crochet. That's going to be in your first section. That's going to be built by like 3 rows of single, and then you're going to have a row where you've got to pay attention to your front post trebles, which are going to be worked kind of going backwards and going forwards. You're going to have to pay attention to the row, like 2 or 3 rows below where you are. Where you set your first stitch is going to kind of inform the rest of that section. So be really careful where you set that one. And then I know I'm kind of just throwing tips and tricks in all together just because that's where my brain's going today. I have a really bad headache. So, um, but make sure that you skip the stitches behind your front post treble crochets. You're not going to work through those because if you don't, you're going to add an extra 2 stitches per front post treble crochet, and it's just going to get all wonky on you, and your counts will be way off. So those are the 2 things that I would say about excuse me, that section. And then the second area is done with just it's kind of gonna be just like that very first section that we did. We were talking about this before we started, where it's got that kind of it's more of that peekaboo style where there's going to be single crochets and there's going to be chains, and then on those chain sections you're going to drop a double crochet down so that you're basically creating this field of main color with these pops of other color behind. Now it's going to be more pops because you're doing the same technique throughout. um, you're dropping your double crochets of your other color down as well, not just the main color. But it's a lot of fun and it creates just a real subtle texture. It's going to be more visual texture than anything on
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, I really love Section 5. I've loved all the sections, just to be honest. But this one, visually for me, um, I saw the crossed front post trebles. They're not crossed, the diagonal ones.
They
That
look
when
almost
I look
crossed.
at that section, to me it looks like X's. But you
Oh
had
yeah,
mentioned diamonds, so it's
yeah,
kind of an optical illusion, right?
yeah. Well, because
However you look.
if you make more of that pattern, it creates a diamond texture.
It does, but just in that strip for me, visually, it creates X's, and I just
Yeah.
love again, it's one of those techniques where just one simple varied stitch creates this
Mhm.
really cool pattern.
Right.
Um, I also love the second part of section 5. For me, it looks like flowers that are just popping
Oh
through,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if you choose color, I think it was your colors. I don't have it in front of me right
Mm.
now, but I think you chose a green and a color that would be in a flower or something.
I used a
And to me, I looked
turquoise
at your
and a yellow and a
picture.
red.
Yeah, so it almost looked like spring flowers to me in that
Oh,
section,
neat. Yeah.
right? So that's another thing that you can do with your color combinations. We've talked about that all along. through the construction of the blanket that colors can really create some cool effects in your blanket.
Mhm,
So, this is a pretty big blanket. You've worked
mhm,
through your stash. You
mhm.
may be running a little low on your stash at this point, but
Yeah.
choose colors that bring out the special features in this section because I think you'll be really happy with it.
Yeah, and it's another one of those areas, like you just said, where those little balls will actually play in because, um, you're not using a ton per section.
Yeah.
Um, there was something else I was gonna say about that area. To me, it looks almost like, a genie vase,
Yeah.
the coloring. Just the way that it's set up a little bit.
There are
Um,
so many ways to look at that.
yeah.
It's just really cool how these 2 parts of section 5 really play with your eyes a little bit.
Mhm. And the diamond one, because we always talk about where the patterns came from and why we used them. Um, the first one, the diamond, is actually in my gingerbread Christmas blanket, and I used it as a gingerbread texture. Because in that blanket, it's another one that's got just a ton of different patterns in it. And so you've got to choose sometimes between which texture you wanted in there. And that was one of the ones that I think that was an optional that you could put in the diamond trellis. And it was, how um, they have some of them have kind of that crisscrossy texture in them in gingerbread houses. And so that's what spoke to me on that one. And that one I did in a brown, of course, because I did gingerbread, but I love it in other colors because
Mhm,
it I think and you can do what you want, but I would say use a solid color in this section just because
mhm.
anytime that you use something that breaks up your eye, um, you'll lose your texture.
Yes.
So, make sure it's a solid, and that way that's all gonna stick out.
Right, so that's something that, um, we need to point out. I love working with all kinds of different, techniques and stitches. But sometimes I let the yarn do the talking. In this case, the
Mhm,
yarn needs to be just the conveyor and the stitches convey the texture. So
mhm,
and the color is just a background for the
mhm,
texture instead
mhm.
of being the star of the show. So I
Yeah,
love the way you can choose how that, depending upon the color that you choose,
mhm.
one thing is going to rule over the other.
Yeah,
I love the way that works.
yeah, and a lot of
Dawn
times Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, and a lot of times
A lot of times you have to kind of choose what you're going to do, like, I'm either going to let the stitch speak or I'm gonna let the yarn speak. And
exactly.
a lot of us are like, "Oh, darn it, I wanted to use that yarn in that spot," you know? Like, yes, I understand. We all go through that, but you have to decide which is more important to you.
Exactly. So, I just have to put this up because this is why we're here. Wow, I
Yep.
love how I'm going through my stash, so fun.
Mhm,
I think stash gets a bad rap. It's your You've got things left over from other
mhm.
projects and you just can't get rid of it. We've just given you a vehicle to use
Yeah.
it in a creative, beautiful, artistic way. Love
Yeah.
it, Dawn. Thank you so much. Now,
Mm.
let's get to our tips and tricks.
Yeah.
Um, I want to before it goes out of my brain, I want to revisit that statement you made a bit back, where you talked about skip the stitches that
Mhm,
are covered by the front post treble crochet. Could you just
mhm.
explain that a little bit?
Sure. As you're going along that particular stitch pattern, you're gonna work a series of, like, 2 or 3 stitches. I don't wanna say 2 or 3, it's 3 or 4 stitches, I can't remember exactly. In
I think
between
it's 3. Oh,
excuse me.
yeah, you work 4 single crochet, it looks like.
Okay. So you're going to do 4 single crochet up here on this row. You're going to be doing a treble crochet front post that either goes in one direction or another, splayed away from that. But they're going to be done right next to each other. So you're actually putting two front post treble crochets right here. Well, behind those there's going to be a stitch that you're going to skip. So you're going to have 4 up here and you're going to have your treble crochets and it feels like, "Oh, I'm working them down here." But no, it's considered a stitch up here. So then you skip those 2 and then you do your next 4. You're not a lot of people, and I shouldn't say a lot of people. Some people go, "Oh gosh, there's stitches. Do I start over here or do I?" And it does say in the pattern specifically skip those stitches, but just in case you don't catch that, make sure that if you're creating that stitch up here, skip the ones behind it and start after that. And it's
Yeah,
easy. It's really
exactly.
easy to either go into one too soon or one too far. It's
Yes.
it's just you're gonna have to pay a little bit of attention.
Right, so when you count the stitches for that row,
Mhm,
count the ones that you skipped and the ones that are sitting at the top with the front post treble
mhm,
crochets,
mhm.
not the ones down below, so that you come out with
Right,
135,
right,
and then the next row will work,
right,
okay?
right.
It's not as
So
hard as it sounds.
no, it's not. Just remember that you're not you it is broken into single crochets and front post treble crochets as far as counting is concerned. But in total, it should always equal 135 going across, just like you
Correct.
said.
All right, is there anything else that makers should know about this section that might help them be more successful with their making?
No, this is really kind of a relaxed session. I feel like, we have really run them through the gamut here. As far as stitch patterns and different textures and all that stuff is concerned, we're back to kind of easy, we've done this before stuff. So the only one that I can see there being any problem with is the diamond one, just because you have to be careful where you put that first stitch because all the counting happens off of that one. And
Right.
I mean the first treble crochet. Other than that, really, these are very simple. And I really think you guys are going to have a lot of fun doing them. They're going to be more relaxing and you'll just be able to have a little bit more fun because like I said, that second portion of section 5, that's all just visual texture. And it's a really a non-thinker, like it's boom, boom, boom. Once you have the rhythm down, you're just going to go with it. And, that one for me was not a pattern that I've used in anything before. It was just one of those ones from a book that I said, "Oh, I've always wanted to make this." So I threw it in there at the end. And we'll have to use it again, of course.
Well, we definitely I'm gonna go back to the blanket and go, "I like this one, I'm gonna use that." I just
I
we've just
know.
covered
Me
so many
too.
things in this that we've got design ideas for the next 3
We
years,
do.
I think.
You guys are never gonna get rid of us.
We're never go if you've done any of these stitches before, you will love what's coming up.
Yes.
All right. Is there anything else you wanna say about this section before we leave it and let them make and do their thing?
They can do. I don't think that there's anything like earth-shattering, I think that it's really just we're at the end. Oh, I will say this. Once you're done with section 5, it would behoove you to lightly block your blanket because
Mhm.
if you're keeping up, and it's okay if you're not, um, if you're keeping up, you're going to be working on the border next. And I know my blanket was like this by the
Mhm.
end.
Yeah.
So just take a minute, block it lightly, and just to give you a straight edge to work off as once you start
Mhm.
your border.
The other thing, that we haven't mentioned is section 5 is not worked
Oh yeah.
consecutively from section 4. You're gonna rotate
Flip it.
your blanket and go back to the beginning, and
Yes.
you'll notice that your mitered squares strip has a naked edge, and
Yes.
that's where you're going to put section 5. Now, you've already done the edging row for the mitered square
Yeah.
strip because you
Mhm.
did that before you started section 1. So
Mhm.
you are all good to go. All you have to do is start section 5 right along, but it is at the opposite end of
Yeah,
section
flip it
4.
180 degrees.
So think of it this way: mitered section 1, rustic section 2, uh, Cordelia. Oh, no, it's
Oh, opposite
Cordelia section
Cordelia and then
2,
rustic.
right? And then rustic section 3, front post section 4,
Yep.
section
Boom.
5,
Yeah, flip it.
right?
Yes.
Right? So
Yep.
flip it around, make sure.
And you will be working once again with the wrong side facing you first because we're going to be doing front post single crochets to add it on so that we get that texture on the front. And then
Exactly.
remember, it's the post, not the loop.
Right. I'm always that confusing person who does it the other way, but there are 2 ways to get to the same goal.
I
We're gonna
am
use
just
yours.
hi to Deb. Oh wait, not Deb. You're Deb. Hi Deb.
I'm d
Dawn, Dawn and Amy. Thank you for leaving comments today. Um, it's such a Monday today. I mean, it is
Oh
such
my
a
goodness,
Monday.
it is so money. So I think what we're gonna do, because Biz and I have some things that we need to get done and you all need to get started, right? So we're gonna say bye for now, but to remind you that we're both in the Facebook groups,
Yep.
each one of us, right, in our Cal groups, and um, you don't need to sign up for email notifications anymore because we're almost done. I mean, you
Yeah.
could if you want to. You'll get one more
Yeah.
from me.
Me too.
And buy the full pattern PDF in either US or UK terms.
Mhm.
If you would like to have it as a memento or you haven't started your blanket yet and you need to get started,
Yeah.
we would love to have that in your. Let's see. Hi, ladies.
Mhm.
Goodness, time flew fast. I'm a week behind. Family. Okay. All right. Well, we're right there with you. You
Yeah.
don't have to be right on time because
Yeah.
this is a forever
Mhm.
project. So
And it
you
is
have it
forever free on
available.
our blogs. But
Yep.
just in case you don't wanna have to go digging for that stuff later on or be like, "Oh my god, I forgot where that was." You'll have the
Yep.
pattern in your library.
Exactly. All right. So for now, we're going to say bye from Madam Stitch
Busy crochet.
and we will see you back here on Thursday when we
Yep.
finally put that border on.
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh.
Have fun, everybody. We'll see you
Yes.
later.
Have an awesome day.
Bye.